Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Read Patch Notes for Europa Universalis 4. The 1.30 patch and the Emperor expansion is dropping in just a few days, and I was already getting a sense of this from the scope of the dev diaries, but now that the patch notes have been released, this is by far the biggest expansion slash free patch for EU4. In fact, according to Groogy here, this patch, the 1.3 patch is called the Austria patch. This patch has over 1,000 entries, which I think apparently maybe the next biggest, because I think Holy Fury was the biggest patch slash expansion for CK2, and potentially before this, the biggest update for any of the Paradox titles was about 600 entries. This is a monster of a patch and expansion. Just crazy. The other thing that's crazy is the fact that the patch notes are out before the release of the game. Historically, YouTubers such as myself have often gotten a copy of like an expansion a couple of days before release. That way we can have videos ready ahead of time, right? So people aren't just rushing to make sloppy content on a release day to be first. You do it ahead of time, there's an embargo, and then you release it all at the same time, and everyone gets much higher quality content, which is great. But usually, and you guys, if you've watched my videos, have heard me say this before, usually I complain that the patch notes aren't out yet when I'm recording it. So I'm having to sort of, between the dev diaries and just trying to eyeball things, figure out all the things that have changed. So it's kind of incredible to have this out well in advance of the release of the expansion. So I'm going to actually skip the expansion features first. I'm going to scroll back up to it in a second. We're going to scroll way down to the free features. So this is stuff that's there for everyone. And some of these are monstrously big changes. I'm not literally going to read and analyze everything here, but there will be a link down in doobly-doo to the EU4 wiki page, which has links to all the dev diaries for 1.30 / Emperor, if you want to dive into more of the details. But okay, first of all, right away, reworked mercenary system that uses mercenary companies instead of individual mercenary regiments. This makes things much closer to how things worked in real life, and it's actually very close to how things work in Crusader Kings 2, for example. So currently in EU4, mercenaries, you just get, a single infantry, and then you get another single infantry, and then maybe a single cavalry, etc., etc., etc. Well, mostly just infantry because, it was way cheaper that way. But now you're going to be hiring a mercenary company that comes with like 5 infantry. Or, 10 infantry plus 2 cavalry plus a couple of cannons. Like, you're getting a whole package deal instead, which I think is more flavorful and more realistic in terms of how is it going to work and how is it going to feel in terms of game balance and reliance on mercenaries versus your professional army and whatever. I mean, who knows? I'm sure it's going to feel fairly different in terms of balance, but I think it's more flavorful and more realistic. So hopefully it also turns out to be really interesting from a strategic and balance point of view. Don't know, haven't played it yet. This is such a gargantuan change. Overhauled and better integrated estates mechanics with privileges and agendas. So estates are interesting. Estates are possibly, I'm trying to think, in terms of EU4, it's possibly the first example of a mechanic that was originally part of an expansion, then got moved to the core game. Originally when estates came out, I actually wasn't a fan of them. I found them kind of boring, and it was mostly every 5 years, or whatever the timer was, I think it was 5 years. Every 5 years, you had to open a menu and push a button. If you didn't open a menu and push a button every 5 years, you would get punished for it effectively by being distinctly worse. I found it really boring and unstrategic, and one of the things I've always harped about for all games, but including the Paradox Grand Strategy games, is the importance of meaningful and important decision. A decision has to have the meaning, and it has to have an important impact on the game. Otherwise, what's the point in it existing? Other than, maybe some extra flavor or something. But I didn't find that those buttons were very flavorful anyway. And this was actually the first time, I think, to my recollection, that Paradox did run into the issue of, okay, we've got a mechanic in an expansion that we would really like to continue to iterate on, but it sort of doesn't make sense to continue to iterate on this feature if it's tied to this expansion. So they made the decision to move estates to the base game, which is tough because, you've got people who've paid for an expansion, and then all of a sudden you're saying, hey, this feature is free. Now, of course, people with the expansion still had more stuff going on with it and whatever. But by doing that, they were able to really, iterate and change and tie estates into more game mechanics sort of globally throughout the game, right? because they didn't have to worry about only certain people having the experience, because then they could tie it into everything. And they did a revamp in the estates. It still sort of looked the same, and its core, the estates still sort of worked the same, except they felt incredibly different. And there was a bit more of a passive mechanic with the estates. As such, if you didn't want to bother with opening the estates screen and pushing some buttons, you weren't punished the same way. But all of a sudden, if you did open the estate page and push some buttons, well, first of all, you didn't want to push buttons all the time. There was a time and a place to push the buttons, and there was choices about which buttons you would push. And all of a sudden, estates became so much more interesting and more powerful at the same time, while being more balanced. Anyway, all that has been thrown out the window completely and redone once again. And I actually think it's going to be really, really cool. If you do check the dev diaries, you can see some screenshots and discussions about it. But basically, estates, other than the fact that, like, I don't know, the 3 estates, assuming you're sort of a, you know, your typical sort of Western feudal kingdom, your 3 estates are still those 3 estates. The way they work has been completely redone. There's much less fiddling with them on the map. And honestly, I still hated assigning and pulling provinces away from estates on the map. It was really boring. And so now that has been abstracted a little bit with a crown land mechanic and a percentage of crown land, and you could, yeah, you sort of set these privileges and agendas for your states instead. It's a little closer to maybe a little how the government reform system works. I don't know. Just check it out. I think I'm going to be really, really happy with this change. But hey, I haven't played it yet, so we'll see. Remove corruptions of territories, made a whole new government capacity mechanic, states, TCs. I'm having a brain fart about what a TC is. Anyway, territories have different weights on this. All right, sure, fine. Yep, okay, good. An administration mechanic lets you spend government reform progress for increased governing capacity. So government capacity, governing capacity. So we're seeing a mechanic there. I think this is just going to be really tied into how big can you blob. Add indication. Oh yeah, new screen for your rival picking. So sexy, so sexy. New option to allow people to change countries multiple times must be off for achievements. I'm wondering if this just is this probably is the same as using the console to tag switch, but more intuitive, which is good. Okay, here's another change that used to be tied to an expansion and has now been moved to the base game. Free cities. So free cities are in the HRE. The Emperor can proclaim a one province nation to be a free city, which grants it certain bonuses as well as certain protections. I think it's one of these features, unlike, say, the estates, for example. This feature isn't the most obvious and evident feature. It's kind of interesting, but it's not really a big deal. So I was thinking about why they might have moved it to the base game. And it's probably been addressed in a dev diary somewhere, but I didn't spot it or don't remember spotting it. So my thinking about this is free cities, they're not the most dramatic thing, but I suspect they really help with some of the game balance and flavor, because free cities, being one province miners, are fairly weak and vulnerable, right? Easy to be conquered. But the free city trait means the Emperor protects them. So someone declaring war on a free city is probably going to get spanked down hard. So I think it's important for sort of game balance and keeping the HRE as a collection of a large number of princes instead of having a few princes that blob up. So I think this is actually going to help the HRE feel better by just making sure that it's in the base game. All right, here, once again, another thing that used to be an expansion mechanic that is now baseline, the government reform mechanic. So if you don't know what this is, basically every blah amount of time, you would get the option to reform your government in some way and change some rules. You know, are you just like a singular head of state? Do you have a parliament? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have whatever? It's really interesting. It was really great as sort of a build your own government kind of mechanic. So now that's going to be in the base game itself, but the Dharma and now Emperor expansion. So I think Dharma is when the government reform mechanic was introduced. So now the government reform mechanic is in the base game, but by owning Dharma, you still have a lot more options. And now Emperor is going to add a bunch more there. And in fact, as we scroll down in this list, you're going to see this government reform mechanic is being used to add massive flavor to a ton of nations in this, I was going to say expansion, not this expansion, this patch. I mean, also the expansion, but just the free patch itself, which is cool. Dutch Revolt upgraded, that was over here. Tons of new missions and events for different nations. That's another disaster over here. Revolution flavor, Crusader state government for Jerusalem. Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster for Milan. I think I played as Milan. They're a lot of fun. More events, more events. Okay, here, government reform. So you can see different nations, like for example, Prussia over here, will get a specific government reform option that no other country will have. I'm assuming that's probably pronounced Juncker. Stratocracy? Generals become rulers. Hey, that's cool. And then military dictatorship reform and legacy government, also available, which is generals become rulers. Hey, so that's, I think this to me looks like it's going to be for all nations, and this is probably a specific subversion of the military dictatorship specifically for Prussia. Event added, another government reform, right? So this build your own government system is being just massively developed and expanded. So this is a protectorate parliament for English Commonwealth under Cromwell. Here's another government reform for Italian republics. We've got a mission tree for Swabian miners, event chain for Neapolitan throne, non-OP starting government reform for Austria. Oh, there you go. Government reforms again. A new institution, industrialization institution. It's the very late game. That I have no idea what this is going to involve. I'm very excited though. Event chain with the Serene Neapolitan Republic. Better colors for most revolutionary flags. Hey, that's cool. Right, estate privilege has been added to the game, so this is something that you get to assign to estates. And really, it's like the government reforms. It's like when you're building your nation in Stellaris. It's all those things. It really lets you sort of tune certain aspects of your nation, in this case the estates, in certain ways to work with whatever you're trying to accomplish or whatever story you're trying to tell. There we go. We got another event for France. We got mission trees down over here too. Cracia Ragusa. Mission tree for Dithmarschen. Events for Saxony and Thuringia. Borgia Papacy events. New missions for HRE republics. Dynamic historical events for the Jews of Salonik. Black Armies now a mercenary company. Reduce cost and extra discipline. Observers for multiplayer games, or not even multiplayer, but if you're watching the AI. Ooh, nice. Oh, when the ledger is locked or limited. Oh, so yeah, in multiplayer you can make the ledger be limited so that you can't use it to like get infinite spy information on all your neighbors in multiplayer or whatever. But now they make it so the observers can still see that, which is great for storytelling. Event pictures, sure, fine. Ooh, optimize the performance of events. Hey. One day mean time to 8. Mean time to fire is what I was thinking, but okay. Anyway, performance, hooray! Marine infantry, Oh yeah, that's right. Requires Golden Century Rule Britannia. I remember reading about this now. Custom nations. Oh, when you make a custom nation, you can choose your sprite pack. That's cool. That's really cool. States Micro Builder makes States Micro a lot nicer. That's cool as well. Go to button in advance. Hey. War tax is a toggle now. I think I like that a lot, because it was always annoying when I'd look at war taxes and be like, yeah, but I think the war's going to end soon, so it's not worth spending it's 50 mil, right? Although I'll probably still forget to hit the button because that's the way it is. Anyway, crap ton of game balances being changed over here. Changing a bunch of buildings. Rampart manufactory +1 hostile attrition. Ooh, sexy. Soldiers household, manpower boost, extra food. Expel minorities and colonies now used expel minorities cost modifier only, no extra defined. Okay. Balance and modding. Core cost can no longer be below 1 power. Wait. You can have 0 core cost? Could you have negative core cost? No. What? No. What? I don't know. Weird. I guess before that may have meant, I'm betting you could have gone to 0, which probably meant you could have cored when you had like 0 admin power or something like that, or negative admin power. I don't know. Probably just to avoid some sort of exploit or something, which is probably well beyond me. Proper state setup, or reparations expenses, and the balance estimation. Oh yeah, because I think some of your monthly income wasn't always accurate with when the war reparations were running. Clear to sea. Clearing is good. Siphoning will not count subsidies. Pirates, monopoly. Looting blockades, now actual expenses. So again, I think that gets updated on the ledger, which is really good, so you can see more information more accurately. Trade companies, remove cap and reform progress. Oh, so you can save your government reform. Potentially for if you weren't eligible for something maybe, and you're like, no, just wait, I just need to, take this other piece of land or change my culture or something, and then I can, okay. War against the World CB. Revolutionary empires don't have estates. All right. Balance. Things. Small changes to war goals can crush revolutions. Oh, there's something, I don't know if we saw it, but you can actually trigger a revolution early if you want. It makes them stronger, but you know, so you can just time it in between your other wars or other nonsense. Oh my god, there's so much. Yeah, we're not. It just keeps going. Ooh, AI. Oh my god. All right, let's go up to the expansion. This is the stupidest patch ever. I love it. It's so good. All right, so this is what you get if you do get the Emperor expansion. Added golden bulls that lets the Curia controller affect the entire faith. So everyone loves cows. Okay, that's not what the kind of bull that is. So yeah, you get to make decisions for, say, the entire Catholic faith. Pope can appoint cardinals in other countries or within his own. Catholic faith collects tithes from its adherents to be spent on new features. Really curious to see how much this tithe is from various countries, as well as what the impacts of these things will be. So yeah, there's a lot of changes in this patch are revolved around like lots of HRE stuff, and the HRE is sort of heavily tied, I would say, to the sort of Catholic and then Catholic versus Protestant kind of ideas. So you're going to see a lot of development over there. So yeah, new mechanics, Council of Trent mechanics lets Catholics stem the tide of the Protestant Revolution. Added Imperial Incident System for HRE that will make Central Europe feel more alive and dynamic. I'm really pumped to play in the HRE with this. I mean, it's the whole point of the Emperor expansion is to beef that up a bit, but I'm really excited. Oh, by the way, one of the things that wasn't talked about in here is the map has been completely like exploded and redrawn. Well, the map of most of Western Europe. France completely changed. Most of the HRE completely changed. A bunch of Italy completely changed. There's probably some other areas as well, and that's just part of the free patch. I think there are some new countries as well. I think. Two paths for imperial reforms for the HRE. Decentralized and centralized. That's cool, because basically the only imperial reforms you could do for the HRE was centralizing the HRE, right? Turning into a one big blob where all the people in the HRE is forced vassalized to you, and then finally you annex everything into a single HRE. But now we've got a decentralized line for it, and I have no idea what's involved there, but I'm really excited to take a look. Do you have any status mechanics for the greatest of the great powers? Tiers of Defender of the Faith mechanic. You can introduce an heir if you currently have none in a monarchy. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a decision. It might have some sort of cost. Maybe it's got a legitimacy or a prestige cost or something like that. But you can force a new heir to show up. More Defender of the Faith events. More events about the papal tithe and Curia treasure. Needs an E right there. Treasury. Hussite church aspects. So yeah, one of the nations in the HRE starts as a Hussite, right? I've never played them. I can't remember who it is. Black Army government reforms available near the end or the start of the Age of Reformation, also available to Dharma owners. Revolutionary satellite state government. Imperial incident that triggers the League War. Once the League War concludes, if the majority of HRE provinces are owned by reformed princes, forcing the Emperor to address their demands. Events. Mission tree for France. Mission tree for Brandenburg, Prussia. Mission tree for Germany and the HRE. Unique branching both tags. Unique mission tree for Provence. Switzerland. Crusader states, the Knights, Cyprus, etc. Missions for Naples and two Sicilies, Bohemian missions. Okay, these are new mission trees. These are mission trees that didn't exist. This is just new missions. New mission tree, new missions. Ideals revolution now spreads over provinces. Harsh penalties and absolutist countries. I think that's cool. I think that like the revolution system, revolutions are an interesting idea, but I never felt that the revolutions did much in EU4. It tended to collapse. You know, France would go revolutionary France, and it'd be revolutionary France for a few years, and then it wouldn't be. I'm hoping this is more of an impact. Now, it's very destabilizing, right? It could really mess things up, which is kind of the point. I wonder if at some point EU4 is going to introduce a CQ2 style game rules option when you set up the game to like enable and disable revolutions, for example, for people who want it or don't want it, or change the strength of it. Now that would be cool. A strength slider for revolutions. Allow you to choose to support or oppose revolutions. Love it. Players can. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, so it's not a free patch change. That I remember I saw it somewhere. Players can provoke rebels into revolting immediately with extra strength. That is really nice that there's something like that. I feel like there used to be something like this. Am I thinking a different game? Am I thinking EU3? I might just be thinking of different ways to mess with rebels. Maybe I'm just thinking the way I played it. Like, some rebels, I would try to prevent them from rebelling, and others I would intentionally not. Like, I wouldn't spend any points to stop them down, and I wouldn't put any troops in the provinces to subdue them, because I would want them to pop sort of on my schedule. So this is the same thing. We'd be, we're sending in like agent provocateurs, provocateur agents or whatever to like stir up some crap. Not that would ever happen in real life. Anyway, by the way, if you do want to hear my thoughts on politics and things like that, just follow me on Twitter. I don't shut up. Anyway, revolutionary zeal replaces absolutism for revolutionaries. Love it. Excellent. Brilliant idea. Unique reforms for revolutionary countries. So again, you can see there's a lot of love being given to revolutions, and I think that's good, because I do think it was an aspect of the game that was interesting, but not as impactful as I would like. So that seems to be the case. Revolutionary guards. Revolutionary countries can take over the torch of the revolution from the target. Incident for Burgundy joining the Empire. That's cool. Burgundian inheritance is now an imperial incident. 21 new missions for Lubeck. I've played as Lubeck before, so like part of me is like, oh, I can't do another Let's Play as these guys, except now I really, really want to. Because I actually like playing as Lubeck. I like playing as a powerful trade nation all the time. Trade is my favorite thing to do. Oh, by the way, part of the map revamp has tweaked a bunch of the trade nodes. I think the Genoan trade node has been split in half, and there's a new trade node over there, and I don't think it's the only one. Peace treaty spread the revolution. Love that too. So good. Mission trees for Saxony. This is Savoy. Extended the Genoan one. Or Genoese, I suppose. I should say it. The word's right in front of me. What am I doing? Estate agendas to the game. Bavarian missions. 15 new missions. Milanese mission. Hungarian missions. 18th century event. It's quite late in the game, but it's cool to see a little bit more love in it over there, and it does work the revolution a little bit more. Netherlands gets a mission tree. Austria gets, wait, did Austria not have a mission tree? No. Really? Austria. Holy crap. Serbia, Florence, Italy, Genoa, Venice, Burgundy, and Provence. So many missions, so much more flavor. Yeah, this is a beast of a patch and a beast of an expansion, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it, possibly this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, being live streamed. Stay tuned for more information. That's all I can say. Bye-bye, folks.